Welcome to the Queer Confidence Podcast, the podcast to help you become your most confident queer self. I'm your host, he, she, they, Coach Alex Ray, and I haven't always been this confident. In fact, I used to be super insecure. And through this show, I want to share with you what's worked for me, my clients, and my guests so that you can become more confident. Hello, unicorns. How are you today? I have a wonderful, amazing guest on the podcast with me today. One of my clients, Victoria. She is just hold on. I'm like losing my words, y'all, because I get all excited when I have amazing people on here and I forget what I'm saying. But seriously, Victoria has been such a delight to work with. She's an amazing, amazing coach herself, and she's going to share with you about what she does today too. But we had some incredible breakthroughs together and things that I knew would be so useful to you all to hear from her perspective, the things that we coached through and hear how she took steps in her own life to work through these things that she felt fear or shame or insecurity around and is now truly embodying what it means to be a confident queer. So welcome to the podcast, Victoria. I'm so glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yay. Oh my goodness. All right. We got lots of fun things to talk about. But I think, first of all, can you just give everyone a little introduction, tell them about who you are?
Yeah. So I am a empowerment coach for people socialized as women. I really work a lot with body image and insecurity around that. People pleasing is a big one because they're just so deeply tied together. When you struggle with your body image, you're people pleasing. So I work a lot with that. But basically anything where you feel like a victim in your life, I'm here to help you remember that you are a fucking badass and you've got this.
I love it. So good. So good. Okay. I feel like we should just dive right into it and go ahead and talk about, like, what was it that originally you came to me for coaching?
Yeah, so I was dealing with some hardcore jealousy. I am polyamorous and I have been poly for like going on 4 years now, but this is the first time, or that was the first time, where my partner was like seriously seeing someone else, and I was struggling. It was a real struggle bus. And so I came to you to help me work through that shit because I could not do it on my own.
Yeah. I'm so glad we're talking about this because I think it's a topic that is not discussed enough. And when it is discussed, it's like, oh, here are the rules, like, get over it.
Yeah, for
Don't
sure.
feel
Yeah, and
jealous.
that's
Done.
right. Well, that's a lot of what I was seeing is like I was supposed to be processing it in a certain way, and it wasn't working for me like at all.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I was putting myself into this box of what it should look like. And, I had wanted, it's called kitchen table polyamory. It's kind of like everyone knows everyone and is at the very least friendly with each other. Maybe not always friends, but like for me, that is ideal. I think about it as like we're all sitting around like watching a movie together, hanging out. Like that sounds fun to me, right? But even though that's what I wanted, I was seeing a lot of like polyamory coaches and like influencers saying like you need to respect other people and you can't force people to have relationships with you, and that's valid. Totally get that. But that also isn't necessarily what I want. Like I don't want this like other person, like the other woman scenario where like it's very like secretive and like I don't know, that just it didn't feel good to me, where like I didn't know this person at all. Like I never met them. So when we started talking together, I don't know how many sessions in we got, but and I don't remember exactly what you said, but it was something along the lines of like why? Like why are you doing this? Like you're allowed to ask what you allowed to ask for what you want. And I
Mhm.
was like, really? And that's so funny because like I'm the type of person that has always been like that. Like I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. But when it comes to relationships and especially with polyamory, because like you want to be as ethical as possible.
Mhm.
But wait, something like this that you said to me of like, well, you're no longer honoring your autonomy. Oh yeah, because I wanted to honor his autonomy. And you were like,
Mm.
'Cause you're not honoring yours because you're not asking for what you want. And I was like, holy shit, you're right.
Yep. Yours matters too.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about it. And it slowly over time got resolved. And we just kind of like agreed that, this is something that is a non-negotiable for me. It doesn't have to be with every partner, but it is something that we need to prioritize in our relationship in order for me to feel good. It's like
Mm.
a big reason that I became polyamorous or that it clicked with me was this aspect of community and like hanging
Mm.
out with your metamors, with like your partner's partners. That's
Mm.
what a metamor is.
Okay.
Um,
Thank you, because I didn't
yeah.
even know that term.
Yeah. um I love that. And like so I got introduced to it by my roommate. And he was in a poly relationship and I saw all of them hanging out together and I'm like, oh, this is so cute. Like I would hang out with them and
Yeah.
oh, this is so nice. I want this.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, and it's funny because I've never coached anyone through polyamory before, but I knew
Hmm.
I was like I don't know all the ins and outs of everything here. I haven't been in a polyamorous relationship before, but I sure as hell see that you are not respecting your own desires here or even asking for them. And
Hmm.
that's the biggie that no matter who you are, anyone listening right now, like look where you are not speaking up for your needs or your desires and where you're invalidating those, because so often we project our anger onto the other person and we're like, I'm so mad at them, when really it's more like our inner self, our inner child, our spirit that just feels like not spoken up for and not validated.
Yeah, totally.
So what was that like speaking up for yourself, and what advice would you give someone else?
Um, Honestly, once I made the connection, it was like pretty easy for me because I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. And I felt like really confident in that.
Mm.
Um, I mean, for anybody else, I would say just do it. Like it's gonna if you're uncomfortable, it's gonna be uncomfortable. Like I was a little bit uncomfortable because I didn't want to hurt his feelings and I didn't want to put restrictions on him. And at the same time, like I was not happy with what was going on.
Hmm.
So like there was some discomfort there, but like you just gotta lean into it. Fortunately, unfortunately, like you just gotta do what you gotta do. Because otherwise it's not gonna get better. Like
Right.
I was not acting in a way that is typical for me. Um, if you experience jealousy, it is fucking terrible.
It is.
And like this monster almost just takes over and it's like very difficult, especially within polyamory because you're being faced with it. It's not like there's this possibility of them cheating. It's literally like no, they're going out and having sex with someone else and you know it. And
Hmm.
like that's you agreed to it. And so even though you agreed to it, there's still this aspect of like fuck. Like, oh, I'm all of the insecurity and like
Hmm.
um it can be very dysregulating. And so that would be another thing I would recommend is like talk to someone, like get some help with it because it is fucking hard to do on your own.
Yeah.
So yeah, talk about it and then talk to someone else.
Love it. Yeah. And being honest with yourself too about what you want. I mean, that was a really big
Yeah,
thing, right?
for sure. Yeah, exactly.
And I was gonna say like about with jealousy, like it really is when you're signing up to be polyamorous or in an open relationship or anything, like you're making a decision to sign up for, I think, in my opinion, the opportunity to really fucking up level yourself because you're putting yourself in that scenario where you don't have a choice but to work through it and come to the place where you don't need sex with one other person to be what gives you value.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, you're facing your insecurities head on. You know, in our society, we have been conditioned under the umbrella of monogamy, right? So, like,
Mm-hmm.
if your partner has sex with someone else, it means that they don't love you. It means all of these terrible things, right? And,
Mm-hmm.
like, especially those of us socialized as women, we have this deep seated tie to our worth and our sexual appeal and our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
There's, you know, so much value tied to that. So when your partner's going out and sleeping with other people like that, that hits deep on so many levels, you know, and you have no other choice than to do the work on yourself, to face those feelings, to sit with them, and then to um, shift your belief system, right? Like that's a big part of it because that's what's
Mm-hmm.
really being triggered is that the belief of like, well, my partner's off having sex with someone else, it means he doesn't love me or I'm worthless or whatever,
Mm,
right? So like you're 100% just facing like the what's the that metaphor like that phrase facing the bull, you're getting the horns
uh,
or something, whatever the fuck that
oh yeah,
is.
yeah. I know what you're saying, and I cannot freaking remember what the
Yeah.
saying is. But yeah, you are getting all the horns, and also yet none of the horn at the same time.
Sometimes sometimes there's more. There's usually more actually.
Oh my god. But okay, so what this ends up triggering, right, is this like internal belief that I need someone else's love to feel worthy or valued. And in the like place that we need to get to, what would you say that is? Like the belief that you need to have about yourself.
um hmm. I mean, a big one for me is just like I am enough without someone else's validation. Like I don't need
Mm,
someone's validation to be enough.
yeah.
That sounds like so coachy and like cliche, but like it's true, you know?
Yeah. Oh, 1000%. That's exactly what I was going to say. That like I need my own approval. And my own
Yeah,
approval is that belief of I am enough as I am, who I am. And, having a beautiful relationship, whatever that looks like with another human or humans, is amazing icing on the cake. That's kind of like great, delicious experiences that we get to have in this lifetime. But the truth is, we'll never actually feel fulfilled from any of those until we really feel in our core that we are enough. And then the irony is when we feel that, then we don't even need them to behave in a certain way anymore. We're open to them
for sure.
being themselves and doing what they want and sleeping with other people. It's kind of neat that way.
Yeah, 100%. It kind of reminds me of like that post you made about sourcing your security from the inside. I think it applies so deeply
Mm,
here because until you do, you're going to continue to grasp onto your partner and need them to fulfill all of these like intrinsic needs within you when you
Mhm.
can get them from yourself. That's not to say that you don't need your partner's validation or their love and support and all of those things. We don't want to be like hyper individualized, right?
Sure.
But at the end of the day, you do have the ability to source all of that security from within yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the difference between needing and wanting it, I think, where it's like,
Yeah.
I can breathe. I got oxygen without their love, but with their love, I do get to experience so much delight.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Love that. Yes. Okay. So, tell us a little bit more. Like, I think maybe let's move into the other big aha moment that we wanted to talk about, which was um realizing that there's nothing wrong with you. Tell our listeners this story.
Oh, okay. I don't even remember how it started, but all I remember is feeling like I was doing everything wrong when it came to my body.
Mhm.
And, I had kind of slipped into this mentality of like, I need to lose weight again.
Mhm.
Um, it's probably worth mentioning that I had an eating disorder a couple of years ago, and I've
Yeah.
been recovering from that. And I consider myself fully recovered, but, it's just fat phobia and diet culture is very pervasive. So I had
Right.
this idea that I needed to lose weight and I wanted to, but I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. And I remember just like breaking the fuck down in front of you, like I had never done before. And you were just like, I asked, like, what's wrong with me? Like in my hands, cupped, like crying. And you were
Yes.
like, there's nothing wrong with you. And it just stuck with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is the truth, isn't it? Like that nothing is wrong with you and nothing's wrong with any of us. And it's such a belief that I have to keep going back to because I forget it all the fucking time.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I think like it hit me so deeply because um I don't think anyone had ever really said it to me, or at
Mm,
least not in that like, kind of a moment or in that way.
mhm.
Um so much of what I heard throughout my life when I would talk about my struggles with my body was like, you're not fat, you're beautiful, like shit like that, which don't get me started, but I had never, no one had ever been like, there's nothing wrong with being fat. There's nothing wrong with your body. Like, there's
Mm,
nothing wrong with you, you
mhm,
know? And yeah, I think that's why it like affected me just so deeply.
mhm.
It's what I needed. No one had ever said it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It was an honor, really. It was an truly an honor to be that reminder for you. And so thank you. Glad to be in your presence. Oh,
See,
so-
I was good up until that moment, and now the tears are coming. Like,
All right, well,
fuck.
I'll talk for a moment while you
Yeah.
dry off. But I would love to hear from you. Like this is such a core belief that most humans have that something is wrong with me. And this is how lots of advertising is structured. I can't say that word today. This is how lots of advertising is
Uh-oh.
structured, where things are being sold on the premise that something is wrong with you. So here you go, take this pill, buy this diet, buy this car, buy this house, move to this place, wear these clothes. It's like everywhere. Your worth will be enhanced as soon as you have fill in the blank, whatever I've got for you,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so I would just love to hear from you. Like, what other areas do you notice this belief of nothing is wrong with me? How, like, what other things start shifting for you?
I mean, everything.
Yeah.
Honestly, because I think I'm actually going to be talking about this on my next podcast episode. I'm going to be
Oh my
talking about
God.
the patriarchy and
Yes.
how that ties into the way we perceive ourselves and view ourselves for everything, our bodies, our emotions, like our status in the world, our
Mm.
gender. Like there's never enough. Even in the queer community, it's like, well, are you queer enough? Are
Right.
you yeah. Um
I didn't think I was queer enough to come out with a podcast called the Queer Confidence Podcast.
yeah. I struggled with that for a while. I'm like, am I actually queer? Like if I'm dating a cisgendered man,
Right.
like, but I am.
You sure as hell are.
Doesn't negate it. Doesn't negate it whatsoever.
No.
But that that thought of like I am not enough is so pervasive, like even with our feelings, that was a big one for me. Like when I first started working on myself, emotional validation was so huge because I had learned that my feelings were wrong, that the way I
Mm.
was bad and not good enough. And like, so when I started to accept my emotions, that thought of like, it's okay. Like, it's okay that you feel this way. I think that really ties into like, you are enough exactly as you are and all that you are with all of the shitty, fucking negative feelings that you have. That was so huge for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that seeps over into society as well. Like, especially with men in particular, so anyone that was socialized as a man, their feelings are demonized and shamed, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So I'm going to be talking about this on my podcast episode, but men have like I think an 80% suicide rate. But they're yeah, but
What?
they are but they are only like I want to say like 27% as likely as women to go to therapy. So like
Oh my God. Wait, so like
yeah,
80% of suicides are men?
yeah.
And that, oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, right? I know. It's so fucked up. And
Yeah.
then they also have like the highest rate of incarceration as well. And so I think
Mm.
these statistics are really telling in the way that we treat men's emotions and like their behavior. And I mean, I really think that when you are emotionally well and treated with respect and care, that you are far less likely to do bad things,
Sure.
right? Like to be violent or whatever else. Um, so yeah, again, that plays into like men aren't allowed to feel. They're not
Mm-hmm.
enough the way they are.
Mm. Something is wrong with us because we have feelings. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's the same for women, people socialized as women.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we are conditioned to believe that we're too emotional. And if we're assertive, that means we're a bitch. And like, you know,
Mm.
you shouldn't be opinionated and shit like that. I heard so many misogynistic jokes as a child, like that women are stupid and that they're lesser and whatever else. And so,
Mm-hmm.
like, again, we learn to reject those parts of ourselves. I shouldn't be opinionated. I shouldn't be angry or
Mm-hmm.
um, sad, even. That was a big one for me personally. And I think that maybe that is for all people socialized as women as well. Because, like, we are made to believe that we're too sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're too sensitive, but we also can't be like assertive and like, it's like, what the fuck do you want from me?
Just stand there or sit there or
Yeah.
whatever. Just shut up.
Well, honestly, like we are taught to be pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like too something that's standing out to me when I'm thinking about all of this and how and my personal journey. I want to hear if yours has been the same, but like when you go through that kind of awakening that like okay, I'm allowed to be fully myself. I can fully express myself. And I felt like the volcano finally erupted, that it was like I had been holding all of this shit down forever and it was like and in my mind, it was like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I hate everyone. Like, screw all of you. All of it. And it was like, I did go through this like period of feeling very angry and outraged and, almost like just trying my hardest to be as controversial and over the top as possible before it was like, All right, I got everything out that I've been holding in. Now, who the hell am I, right?
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
feel similar?
yes, it didn't happen like, so when I really started digging deep into emotional work, um, I wouldn't say it happened then. I think it happened more so I got really into conspiracy theories when I was around
Mm,
17, and I feel like that was almost like the the start, like the tipping of the first domino, and I got pissed. I was so infuriated with the world, and after having experienced um so much medical tyranny in my life, like being, none of you guys know this, but Alex does. I spent a lot of time in psych wards, and it's not that, I can't say that it's like prison, but I felt like a prisoner. Um,
hmm.
I really do think it's an extension of the prison industrial complex. It was it sucked.
Yeah.
So after having experienced that, and then seeing like these conspiracy theories about like, the government being out to get us, and like,
Hmm.
essentially, right? There are lots of ways that we could talk about conspiracies, but that's like the overall gist, is like there's this force outside of myself that doesn't want me to succeed and to thrive.
Mm.
And I still believe that now, even though I'm not a conspiracy nut anymore. I shouldn't call them nuts, but like sometimes.
You're yes, yes.
Yeah, I definitely
Respectfully a
was.
conspiracy
Yes.
nut. Yeah.
Yes.
You were nutty
Um
about conspiracies.
I was. um But yeah, seeing that really pissed me off, and I
Mm,
hated the world. I hated everyone. It actually, I mean, it led me to my eating disorder, because I truly believed that the world was out to get me, and if the world was out to get me, that meant food was bad. Anything that
mm,
society was doing was bad, and I had to do the exact opposite. And so it led
mm.
me to becoming like a fruitarian and fasting a lot and super unhealthy.
Oh my God, yeah. That you is okay, I've never heard the term fruitarian before, but I'm assuming you just ate fruit and nothing else.
Pretty much.
Oh my
Yeah, pretty
God.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is not all your body needs. Like,
No, but I truly thought it was like, there's this idea that like we're frugivores, and so all we need is fruit and like some nuts and seeds. Although there are some
mhm.
fruitarians that are like, nuts are evil, fats are evil, like they're poison for your body. I've heard some of these motherfuckers say that spices are poison for your body. Uh,
Too much salt and pepper. Get it off.
Literally though, my friend my friend and I, and Caleb, my partner,
Mhm.
we all went to this fruitarian community in Ecuador.
Okay.
And my friend went back, and he was telling me that like there were people that were legit laughing at him for using salt. Just like
Wow.
a little bit of salt.
Oh.
I'm like,
Hmm.
bro, that is so sad. Could you imagine? I did.
No, I can't.
I did it for a little bit.
Oh
It
my
sucked.
God. That sounds awful. That's like a life without any kind of exciting spice, which is not to
Right.
go off on a tangent, but that is why we love pain. That's why we love things to be terrible in our life sometimes, is because it's like a
Yeah,
little salt. It
it
increases the
is.
flavor. Yeah.
Yeah, truly. I think it would be boring. We would all get bored if there wasn't anything in contrast to the happiness and to like the good feelings.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. Which is, you know, I'm thinking like as we're having this conversation, like I wonder if that's kind of why sometimes we develop these thoughts like something's wrong with me, just so we can keep tinkering. Because it would be so boring if like we were like, oh yeah, I'm totally done. I mean, I'm me and I can just be me. I feel like it feels wonderful for a minute and then it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking about this with a client last night actually during our session. I was telling her that there's a point where we stop just emotionally validating and we start becoming indulgent.
Mm.
And one is really useful and the other isn't,
Hmm.
right? And like that's not exactly what we're talking about here, but it kind of plays into this idea of like we do get addicted to feeling sad,
Mm-hmm.
right? And a lot of people I see that start to do like emotional work like really think that it's kind of like that infantilization of ourselves where like we think we have to coddle and we have to indulge in the emotions because otherwise we're like doing something wrong or we're doing like not enough work on ourselves.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. The whole like self-help industry can become a new addiction where it's like, yay, let's discover more about myself and find more ways to make myself wrong.
Yeah, and to feel like shit, honestly.
Right. Yeah. Once I read
Because
this
if you're
book
not
and
feeling like,
go ahead.
sorry,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you're not feeling like shit, you're not doing the work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Totally. Uh that is that is like the growth here for the whole industry is like, and let's come back to just knowing that who we are right now is not wrong. We are enough. We're
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Um right, I would love to like talk a little more about body image because this is an area that you really specialize in helping your clients with. Tell us a little bit
Mhm.
more about what you do.
Um, well, I honestly, I help people get like the patriarchy out of their head because
Hmm.
it has been socialized into us, like conditioned into our brains to hate our bodies, particularly if you've been socialized as a woman, but the same thing if you've been socialized as a man, you like men still have body standards and things like that, but it's a little
Totally.
bit different because women are really treated like objects for
Yeah.
admiration, and men not so much. So I help people unpack that shit and start to realize that fat isn't bad. If you occupy a fat body, that's perfectly fine. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you or that you are physically, mentally, morally like a failure. Um, it's just a word to describe a body. It's not that big of a deal.
I love that. Cause like I remember as a kid all the time my parents would be like, no, don't say fat or call someone fat. That's like rude. And it's interesting that like the way that we work through this shit is denial. And if we didn't deny these things, then we wouldn't have demonized it, right? It would have been like, oh yeah, they are fat. And what's wrong?
Exactly.
There would be nothing wrong, nothing shameful about it anymore. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Tell us a little more. I'm curious, like, how body image ties into worth for people socialized as women.
I mean, it's everything. It is the most important thing about us. At least that's what I learned. I guess I can't speak for everyone, but the
Mhm.
consensus from my clients and other people that I've talked to is that like body is everything. If you don't look good, then you aren't worth shit.
Mm,
And I mean, I felt that personally. I was bullied terribly for my
mhm,
body. Like that's what started my eating disorders. I don't even like to call it bullying. It was honestly abuse.
mm,
It was relentless and it was about nothing more than my body. I was told to kill myself. I was told that um it was ugly and disgusting and kids used this one kid would like make whale noises at me in front of people like there was so much public humiliation associated with it. It was disgusting. And
mm,
yeah, so that really sealed it into my brain that if I wasn't thin, then I wasn't going to be good enough. But the thing
mm,
is that I got thin. I lost a lot of weight when I
mhm,
went raw when I was a fruitarian, and I was weighing myself like 5 times a day at my
mhm,
smallest.
mhm.
I was obsessed with my body, and it didn't help. Losing weight didn't help the way I viewed myself.
Yeah, yeah. What did it like? What happened when you did lose the weight? Anything?
Um, when I look back at my Facebook memories, I see that I had a lot more engagement online. I had like people
Mm.
liking my posts more. Whether or not that was because of my body or because I was saying outrageous shit about being a fucking fruitarian, I don't know. Because I love people, I think, just love the polar kinds of stuff, very extreme.
They do. They do.
Yeah. Um, Other than that, I mean, not a whole lot. I have been sexually active all my fucking life. I have
Yeah.
had tons of partners.
Yeah.
And I was only in a thin body for a couple of years, so like I've been larger all of my life, and that's when I was getting like the most partners. So
Mm-hmm.
honestly, nothing really happened. And even like my perception of myself, because I still would go for larger clothes. Didn't I could see it but not entirely. Like I realized I had lost weight. I could see the number on the scale. I could see certain things about myself. I'm like, yes, I'm smaller, but like when I would go shopping, I'd still go for like larges and extra larges because I like could not conceptualize that I was in a smaller body. So really nothing fucking
Mm.
changed.
Right. That's why I asked that question. I was like, did anything really change?
Right.
I mean, that happened when I went crazy about my fitness and like got jacked as fuck. And um I still was like so ridiculously insecure.
Yeah.
And I look back at those photos and I'm like, tell me again what it was that I would judge myself for in the photo, because I look at that, I'm like, you look like a Greek statue. And in fact, it's almost like uncomfortable. Like, like I didn't even like look like a normal human in some ways. And
Yeah.
I felt so like I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. And it
Yes.
never got there. I never got there until I stopped the obsessing over my body and was like, okay, hold on. This is an internal thing. So
Yeah.
what do you find has either helped you or your clients the most in that switch from like my body has to change to like no, it's I am perfect.
For me, and this is what I teach my clients, is learning that your body isn't the most interesting or important thing about you. Like, yes, you
Mm,
are embodying a physical experience, so take care of yourself, but like, who fucking cares really what you look like? Honestly. Like, yes, we want to feel good about ourselves. And I think feeling good about ourselves has less to do with how we look and more to do with how we perceive how we look, like the thoughts that we have about how we look. And so changing that, and honestly, that was a big aha moment for me, which is that I could actually think and believe whatever the fuck I wanted. Like I didn't have to
mm-hmm.
continue believing the things about fatness or anything for that matter. That was like, what? And it was such like a simple concept, but I was like mind blown. And so that's what I teach my clients too, is like, what do you want to believe about your body? Like, do you want to continue believing that fat is bad or that your body is ugly or that, it has this like moral like standpoint within your life or whatever. Um and I think that's really empowering. And I think that's like the root of it, right? Like I am an empowerment coach and I want my clients
Mm-hmm.
and myself to feel empowered about their bodies.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question? I feel like I went
Fuck yeah,
all
it
over the
did.
place there.
My favorite line, like this has to be like the audio clip. Your body isn't the most interesting thing about you. That, yes. Can we just get like
Yeah.
a fucking poster, a whole like wall, what is that thing called? Mural? I almost said
Uh-huh.
mirage. I was like, it's not a mirage, the other M word.
Yeah, I actually have that. I painted it onto a canvas and I have that in my bathroom. That was one of my paintings I kept.
I love that. Also, I love that
Mhm.
y'all, you have to go follow Victoria. She's like one of the most interesting humans alive on the planet. Like, you just need, like, just
Thanks.
go check her shit out. She paints, she coaches, she's. Yeah, what don't you do? I don't know. You're right. Your body is not the most interesting thing about you. You're so damn interesting.
That is so fucking true.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, so one other aspect that we wanted to kind of touch on was how does body image play into dating? Because that ends up being like a big topic, you said, for your clients. Tell us more.
Yeah, all of my clients struggle with this idea that they're all single right now, so they're going out on dates and they struggle so much with thinking that their date isn't going to like them because of their body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it, it's kind of funny because it's not true at all because they're going on a date with you. Like they know what you look like. Even if you
Mm-hmm.
only have pictures of your face, like they know what you look like, right? Um but they just don't feel like they're worthy of going out on these dates
Mm-hmm.
and being in relationships and being loved. Like that's really what it comes down to. It has nothing to do with their bodies. Their body is a scapegoat. That's what we
Mm-hmm.
use when we don't feel worthy. It's like, oh, I don't feel good about myself today. That a lot of people say like I feel fat today. You can't feel fat.
That's
Like
so
fat is
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
fat is not a feeling. You feel, for me, it was usually like lonely or unworthy.
Ah,
That's
yeah.
really like, so we put it off on our bodies because it's easier that way. It's easier to be like, I don't want to look at the actual feeling and belief that's there because that's super painful. So I'm just going to try to fix my body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a really good that tool right there. Just that observation that that is not a feeling.
Yeah.
It's
Right?
yeah. And it's interesting how we like to our body even is an external thing. And we like to project like or blame our feelings on anything external. So it's either other
Yeah.
people, it's the world, or it's our body, because at least that like can be out there and something that we can then go, oh, I just can't even change it versus like admitting how we actually feel on the inside and the story we keep telling ourselves.
Yeah, and that's really the key is unraveling that story and rewriting a new one and like
Mm-hmm.
realizing that you're allowed to do that. And when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to dating, it's really believing that like who who fucking cares if they do reject you for your body?
Mm-hmm.
Is that likely going to happen? Maybe. I don't know, maybe not. Probably not, honestly, but like it's a possibility, right? Who fucking
Mm-hmm.
cares?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what a lot of my clients are trying to escape is like rejection.
Mm-hmm.
But like simultaneously they're rejecting themselves, right? It's like
Yes.
if they are so concerned about this, they believe that there's something wrong with their bodies. It is I hear my clients say like, well, they're going to think that there's something wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
How would you know that? You're not in their brain. That's your own thought.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of facing that and taking ownership and responsibility, they're like, I'm going to put it on this other person because then I don't have control over it. It's not mine.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
And
And that's less scary.
yes, totally. And then I also hear this almost like if then you can blame them for not liking you because of your body, then you can also just get angry at them because then they're fat phobic and they're an asshole. And then you can feel anger is so much easier to feel than like hurt and
For sure.
unworthy and sad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a protective mechanism for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is so good. Okay, anything else as far as like dating goes that would be helpful to our listeners today?
One thing that I practice with my clients is like, and I came to this realization as well, is like deciding on purpose with intention that you're just hot. And that's it.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
Yep.
No one gets to decide it other than you.
Yeah. You were
Yeah.
one sexy motherfucker. That's what I like to say.
Yeah. Yeah, I had that realization at a festival. It's like festivals are just like a breeding ground for insecurity.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, because there's so many people that are half naked and like they all look so beautiful and cute and like it's just easy to start to compare yourself. And I was like really sitting in it for like the first day. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, fuck this. This is terrible. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm hot. That's it.
Right. So true. And the funny thing is, like, what really attracts us to other people isn't, yeah, their body is like great for a moment, but like, have you ever just like been in a crowd and someone is just fucking glowing?
Hmm.
It is not their body that caught your eye in that scenario. It's like their whole aura, their whole being, that like they like the way that I met this guy that I'm going out with right now. We will see where things go. I'll update coming in a few months, y'all. Um, but the way that we met was through Zoom, and his square was fucking glowing to me, and I was like, I don't know what it is, but I need to know this person. And that's happened before, and like really awesome friendships have come out of it where I was just like, they are glowing. It has nothing to do with their body. I had a client that he became a client because I saw him in a Zoom square and I was like, you are glowing. I need to know you. We got to know each other. And he's like, I want to work with you. It's never really about our body.
Yeah, it's really not.
Again, not the most interesting or beautiful thing about us, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just an easy scapegoat.
Hmm. Totally. Totally. All right. Last question for you. What does being a confident queer mean to you?
Mm. I really think it just means owning who you are on every single level, your wants, your needs, your decisions. That was a big one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Realizing like whatever I decide is perfectly okay, even if I fuck up and fail.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, what drew me to you was your concept of like having your own back. I really
Mm-hmm.
think that is true. Like, that's what confidence is when you show up exactly as you are and you're like, I don't give a shit what anyone says or thinks about me. I've
Mm-hmm.
got my back, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, indeed. That's exactly it. I love it. All right. So tell us a little more about where the amazing unicorns can find you and connect with you.
Yeah, so all of my platforms have different names.
It's okay. We're going to link all of it in the show notes.
Okay. The best way is through Instagram. It's Connection Affection.
Okay. Awesome.
I have a podcast now. It has a
Hmm.
few episodes called Encountering Empowerment. And
Love
then
it.
I also have so funny that they're all different names. I have a Facebook group called Beyond the Beauty Standard.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay. We will link all this in the show notes, everyone, right? And you have TikTok too, right? Do you
I
do
do.
that?
It's Connection Affection. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll all your socials, Facebook group, and podcast are all going to be in the show notes, y'all. Go check out. You are a podcast listener, clearly, so go check out Victoria's podcast and, whew, just plug it in your ears and enjoy, my friend, and leave her a rating, especially because she's got a new podcast. This is the thing that is so helpful for podcasters: are rating and sharing with a friend, because the platforms don't exactly promote things unless they have like bazillions of downloads. So, until we are
Hmm.
celebrity status, you all can be an amazing friend and help out through rating and suggesting to a friend. So amazing. Any parting words? Anything else you want to share today, Victoria?
I think that's it. We covered a lot. This was
We
great.
so did. It's so good. Thank you for being on the show today. I feel complete. This felt amazing, and I'm so delighted to that you shared your wisdom and the insight and inspiration today with all these amazing unicorns. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. This was just awesome.
Oh, you're so welcome. All right, you all. Have an amazing week, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend so they too can become more confident. You can also help more people find the show by leaving a 5-star review wherever you listen. And if you want to become a more confident queer with support from yours truly, head to coachalexray.com or use the link down in the show notes. I'm looking forward to working with you.